developing a frictionless payments experience.
I'm talking about frictionless payment experiences, in particular with leaning towards social commerce. So that concept is checking out or receiving money from a buyer, a customer, a donor through some other app. An example you might be familiar with would be like WhatsApp or Telegram, Line, Viber. I do have gaming clients, but I also work with a nonprofit. I work in 174 countries with a specialty in sub-Saharan Africa, LATAM, and Far East Asia, who kind of lead the way with social commerce payments. If you use any of these apps, you may or may not have transferred money through it, and we use it as a customer experience to be a little bit easier to actually help someone give you your payment. It's similar to an online version or internet version of if you walked into a retail store and you wanted to purchase something, the actual cashier would take your money and process a payment card or cash for you, but you're doing this through some other form. It doesn't have to be an app. It could be your Web 3.0 platform, it could be your website, it could be one of these apps here. So why are we interested in this? Because it's an increasing way to receive money and send money. I have a huge interest in cross-border payments, which can get very difficult and get expensive and can almost be impossible at times. So this is increasing. If you're in mainland China, Taiwan, Singapore, this is second nature to you, not so much everywhere else. So if we're talking about payments, we have to consider the buyer and ease of use to them, the cost to them. An app, it's not necessarily an app, it could be social app, website again, and then the payment itself. It has to be possible for you to actually send and receive this payment and settle it in a currency that's useful to the business. So our buyer, and in my case is actually a donor because I'm working for an NGO in all these countries. They have to have the ability to actually pay me. We're looking for donations. There are sales too, but donations are where the cross-border payments really, really come in. So my donor has to have the ability to actually give me money in a currency that they can give, and then a settlement currency that I can actually use. If I'm going to use something like a social app or WhatsApp or WeChat, they've got to have app access to it. TikTok is illegal in India. I can't send payments through it right now, but maybe one day you can. Just a good example. I have WeChat, but I can't send a payment through it because I don't have a bank account in mainland China, and I don't want a bank account in mainland China. And your donor payer has to have awareness that they do have the ability to pay you this way, and are they actually willing to use it as a matter of trust for your business. This is one of my favorite slides. We use a stat because we target expats. So in Kenya, there are about 12,000 medical doctors. There are more Kenyan doctors in the United States, where I'm from, than there are actually in Kenya. They have a lot of money to give, and we can get that back in donations. This is actually a slide from Ghana, so one of our offices, and I have this part right there at the top. Yeah, you can't see it. It's blurred out because it makes me uncomfortable. As a North American, having bank wire information on a website, which is where that's screenshotted from, is really uncomfortable. It would cause me to flee. There's a favorite quote I have from another conference I talked at, and the way it was said was, if it seems unusual to me, it scares me, and then I flee the site. That scares me. It's perfectly normal in Ghana and acceptable to do is to actually put your bank wiring information right on the site because they wire money all the time, Western Union, whatever. The next panel on the right is a different landing page I encouraged them to put up, and they did. So if you're an expat, that makes sense to you because you see MTN there. M-Pesa is a common way to send money. USSD apps are a really common way to send money. Africa does mobile app payments really well, just not with smartphones. So then you see the Visa and MasterCard logos, which to everybody else, if you're not an expat, makes sense, but then it's a little pixelated and distorted. Again, they're going to flee from that. And so this is part of Frictionless, is really simple stuff like this, making it seem familiar and make sense to you. The business considerations, they still want to make money, right? Or accept these donations or accept payments. So availability, again, you can go back to the WeChat example. You need that mainland China bank account and not necessarily willing to do that for a lot of other concerns too. The user experience has to make sense. I can't have smartphone apps for, I don't know, let's say Uganda, because not many people actually have a smartphone and their internet connection is a bit weak there. It's tough for us to even do like video calls, right? Because people are dropping off like crazy. The bandwidth is just not there. So basic phones are much more common. And then you have to test it with your users. Is it actually going to work for them? Are they going to do it? Does it make sense? Or are they just going to lean back to the way they've been doing it with USSD apps or literally walking, cash to M-Pesa and depositing it? Data privacy becomes a concern. So if you're going to go on this route with using, say, WhatsApp payments, which right now are only available in Brazil and India, it's just rolling out elsewhere, but it's still going to be some time. You're going to be in a data controller agreement, whether you realize it or not. You as the business, if you know a little bit about GDPR and all the other zillions of privacy agreements, you are a data controller, whether you realize it or not, and you have to have all your privacy agreements and processes in place. If you start using one of these apps, say you go with WeChat or WhatsApp payments, you are signing up a terms of agreement or service, whether you realize it or not, and then you can find yourself working in a country that you may or may not have the proper policies in place for, and then if you wind up in trouble or you have a complaint, you're sort of in this mess that you maybe didn't realize that you were getting into because of what you signed. WhatsApp payments, they're going to stick, they're bigger, they're going to stick to their terms of service, the same thing with WeChat and Telegram, Viber, and you're signing up for what they have to offer. This exposes you to more laws and more policies that you just need to be aware of because you're making yourself truly global. And data processors is going to be everybody else. I have, say, a chat, I have and maybe an HR firm that's handling actually talking to my client through a chat app because I don't want to use AI because it kind of makes people angry and they get upset. They're going to be a controller, they're going to be a processor. If there's a problem, they took some information from a customer that you weren't aware of and there's a complaint, it's back on you and probably not onto the actual app itself. So time and effort. I work with a lot of countries. I'm a trainer. I'm here shopping for payment solutions right now. It means I got to learn whatever this effort is, and then I have to teach it to every office. It's not going to be the same solution for every office because of currency and problems. I like this one example that I have. So my parent organization that I'm working for is based in London. My contact is Kenyan. He sits in Toronto, Canada. I live south of New York in the States. They pay me out of London just because it's cheaper not to pay me from Canada. It gets silly and it gets difficult, but that's just the way we have to do it, is hop through a bunch of other countries. If we have a country in, say, Africa that can't process a payment, we end up sending it back to the London office, and they charge us 13% commission to actually process the money for us. That's crazy. So we're looking for things to be about 1.5% max, preferably less than 1%, but this is the time and effort that you have to put in to find something reasonable and a solution and a payment provider in a currency that the buyer can pay and that you can settle in with your actual bank. So is it possible? Is it economical? Are you going to lose money on this? And your data privacy considerations. I encourage you to ask questions about any of this. So your cost of receiving money and sending money to pay your own invoices just has to be reasonable and actually doable. I like this slide. Instagram chat commerce is just rolling out. I got it for my own personal e-commerce site in the States only about a month ago right now, and we're still working through getting things on, getting Instagram to accept them as being able to sell, and then the problems that come with it. Sure, I signed a data privacy agreement. The one thing that's got us the most, because we're actually shipping a physical good here, is there's a requirement that I have to ship within 7 days, which isn't actually something that I can do. So it's causing us to have to add some stock, so it's adding an expense for me. But I have to be able to meet that 7-day. However, I want that audience that I have already there, which is about another 6,000 people per month, and that I'm not actually selling through to that app. It's actually turned out to be our major form of e-commerce for us. So I want that audience, and I'm willing to go through all the issues that come with it. Is it reducing profits? Not right now. They're actually not taking any percentage, and you have to be aware that whatever social chat you're hopping through might actually keep a percent of profits. Right now they want that to work, so they're not doing it. Is that going to change in the future? Probably. So then they might end up ending. So For friction, consider your buyer. Is it easy for them? Is it actually available for them? What's your ROI, and what else do you have to do to make these happy? Right on time. Thank you.